Where were you and what were you doing when you heard about Pearl Harbor?
Well, we were in New York City, and a lady friend and I were there at Christmas, just before Christmas. We went down there for a vacation, and we were over to friends of ours who lived up in the Bronx. And we never had the radio on or anything until we got back to the hotel, and that was the first that we heard of the bombing or the Pearl Harbor.
When did you enter the service? When did you enter the service?
Entered service, I think about the 4th of December, 42. I went, I was called up 4 times in draft, and I was turned down the first 3 times for my eyes, and the 4th time they got me. So that was in 42.
How old were you when you were drafted?
Let's see. About 26.
Were you single or married at the time?
Single.
What was your rank?
Well, final rank was a tech sergeant.
Where were you stationed?
Well, my tour of duty in the Army, I saw no combat whatsoever. I was in the service area. When I went in, I was a meat cutter. And we went into the reception center in Fort Niagara, and I worked in there in the meat department, cut meat for all inductees into the reception center with another group. And I was there for almost a year, and then I was sent to Governor's Island. And in that, we were in the bomb disposal unit, and our duties were to inspect all the scrap that came back out of Europe for bombs, mines, any kind of explosives. They blew up a couple of furnaces all, and that's why they put us in there. And I was there for almost a year. And then that came about the Battle of the Bulge. And they gathered up a whole bunch of this, went through and took everybody. And they sent us down to Fort Lee, and we were down there for about a week getting organized. And then we went from there up to Camp Kilmer, and we were all ready to get on a ship to go to Europe when that all kind of quieted down. So then we come back, and they sent us to Indiantown Gap, and we were down there for a week or 2, and then they had a whole group, and they sent us from there to New Orleans. And from New Orleans, we went to Panama. And in Panama, they split us up, and my group was in the Coast Guard, and we sat on Gatun Locks. There at Gatun, right on the locks. We could sit there and watch the boats and everything going. And I was there until, just before VE Day. And there was a group of us, we decided that we didn't want to sit there and do nothing anymore, so we enlisted in the regular Army. And we came home. They flew us into Miami, and from Miami up to New York and back to my hometown. And I was home for 90 days. And after I get the 90-day furlough, I reported back in, and they lost my records. they had moved the headquarters of the camp from Fort Dix to Fort Mama, and in the process, they lost my records. So I sat at Fort Hancock for 3 months, trying to find my records. And of course, in the meantime, I was going back and forth to Alma all the time, every weekend. Well, we left there, and we went to Europe, went to La Havre, landed in La Havre, and we was there for a while, and there were just a lot of redeployments, all the soldiers coming out of Europe. And they sent us into Marburg, Germany, and seemed like I spent most of my time traveling. And we were over there for a while, and then they sent us back into La Havre. And we were in, I was in Camp Philip Morris. There was 4 cigarette camps: Philip Morris, Chesterfield, Lucky Strike, and Camel. And they were all in the vicinity of La Havre. And I worked there in the unaccompanied baggage, all baggages at foot lockers and like that. And we had prisoner of war done everything, all the work and all the lifting. All we did was come. They'd come in, line them up in there. And that went on for, I don't remember, but it was quite a little while until kind of crumbled down. And then they sent me in to the service area, and this woman was looking for someone to run a service club. So I did that for quite a while. And then in there, after that, they sent us into Paris. And I jumped, it just seemed like I was jumping from here to there for a while. But I spent 5 years altogether in the Army. We were in Paris for a while. We had a lot of time, and we went everywhere. It was everywhere that there was any interest. We got the Eiffel Tower and the Arc de Triomphe, and, big museums and the huge big church. And then they sent us to Vienna. And in there, I was there for a week or so. And they made me a mailman and mail courier. And I carried dispatches from Vienna to, I can't think of the damn name. But anyway, I took messages back and forth and handled the mail call. And I was there in Vienna when, I was married and had Sam as a baby. And came to the convenience of the government. They would let married couples or married personnel. So when they said that, that's when I got out.
Right. What did you miss most about home? What did you miss most about home?
Home? Well, your family and friends. Just natural living, I guess.
Did you ever get to see your John mother?
Yes. I did. I was in Panama at the time. I'd been going with this young lady. all of a sudden I got, Dear John.
Did you ever have regular religious ceremonies?
A religious ceremony? No. We had opportunities to go in all these places where I was, but I went to church like when I was in Fort Niagara, like all Christmas, and I was there over Christmas and the holidays and things. And then when I was down in Governor's Island, we went to St. Patrick's Cathedral, or on Fifth Avenue, the big church there one Sunday. And I think the most memorable one, I was, all my friends were Catholics, or the ones that I worked with. And one Christmas, we had our choice. We could work Christmas, have New Year's off, or the opposite way. And I chose Christmas, and because I wanted to go home for New Year's. And our duty was, we had to bake the turkeys for that next Christmas day. And we got them all ready, got them in the oven and everything in our white cook outfits. We went to midnight mass at the church there on Governor's Island. I think that was the most impressing of any of the services that I went to. Well, in Paris we went to some churches, not to service, but we went to visit them. And in Vienna, there was a huge, big cathedral. It had a spire over 200 feet high. And at one time, it must have been gorgeous, but they had bombed the altar and the back of the church. But there were all these little cubicles in there where, I mean, individuals or a group could. And then just down the street a ways was this church, and I don't know what the denomination was. There was a couple of people there that we talked to, but I mean, we didn't understand them. But on the back of the altar was this huge, well, it must have been as long as this, a mosaic picture of the Last Supper. And that was about the extent of as far as going to church regularly. I didn't do it, but we did visit these big churches when we were in Paris, Vienna, New York.
Okay. What was your favorite food in the mess hall?
Favorite food? Well, I don't know that I had any favorite food, but when we came back from Panama, we hit into this camp, and the food was very, very good. I mean, it was normal, potatoes, vegetables, meat, like that. And it was served nice, but all of the help was POWs. When I came back from Europe, we came into the same place, and it was ex-GIs, or ones that didn't have credits enough to get out of the Army. They were all kitchen help and everything, and the food was terrible. So,
did you begin to smoke or drink during?
no, I didn't smoke. Not while I was in the Army. After I came home, my wife and I went to California. And in the process, I don't know, out west or someplace, my wife smokes. And it smelled good. And I said, oh, let me try one of those. So I smoked for probably 5 years. And one day I had a cold and didn't feel good and everything. And they had put another tax on the cigarettes. So, boom, threw it right in the wastebasket, and that was the last I ever. I've never smoked since.
Did you ever see a USO show?
Not like Bob Hope. But when we were in New York, we could go to the USO Club, which put on all kinds of entertainment for the GIs. And there was also a place in New York at 99 Park Avenue where you could go and you could get a ticket to any place. We went to Radio City Music Hall. We went to Madison Square Gardens to see sports. And we went to a number of well, it wasn't TV, it was radio shows. And at that time, the Philip Morris program was Ted Weems. And we'd go and get a ticket, and we'd go into the studio. We had to be there like 6:30. And the program started at 7 o'clock. And they did their radio show. And then they had a chorus of women. There must have been 24 in that chorus. And then they put on an hour show for everybody who was in the studio. And then they said, well, all you GIs, follow the woman with the hat, with a big red feather in it. So we all followed her, and we go up about 3 blocks. And in this building, he had a whole floor. And it was set up so, like, there was a table with 8 solo GIs, and one of these chorus women from the chorus was there as a hostess. And to answer any questions or anything, and he had hamburgers because he owned a ranch out west, raised his own meat, and you could go there almost any time. And we used to go there quite often because they had entertainment. But as far as seeing a USO show, the only ones that I saw was like a USO club.
Did you ever see anyone famous, like a high-ranking officer? Did you see anyone famous during your time in the Army?
Then?
Famous?
I didn't understand.
Have you ever seen anyone famous?
Did you meet anyone famous, like a high-ranking officer or anything like that while you served?
Not personally. When we were at this one camp down in Fort Lee, they spent 3 days lining us up according to height. Highest ones in the front row, down. And we went out there and we stood for 2 hours in the sun. And some general was coming through. And zoom goes the car. Boom, gun. And we spent 3 days getting all lined up and everything. And it took him about 10 seconds to go by it. I thought, oh, that's as close as I ever got. Well, yeah, when I was in the service club, the servicewoman that ran the club, she was the colonel of the post's girlfriend. And I seen him quite a while, or quite often. And this one time we were going, she wanted to go to Paris, and she didn't want to ride in any old rough Jeep or an ambulance or anything, so we took the colonel's car. And it was like a 43, 44 Buick. About halfway down there, it was riding along, we hit a railroad track and the wheels go boom. And I think that you're going to ask me if I see the funniest thing. We tried to, had to go down the roadways, walk down the roadways to get a telephone. And when we got down there, they called in and try to talk to a French telephone operator and try to make her understand what you want, why. But she got on there. I am Sam Hartman. I want to talk to Colonel Dale. And man, if you ever seen an angry woman, she was it. But we finally made connections and got our car fixed up and went on to Paris. But I think that was the funniest thing that I ever remember in the service.
What were your plans when the war ended?
Well, when I went in the Army, I said to my wife, when I come back, we're going to California. And when I got back, that's what we did. He was just a baby. My father and mother kept him, and we were gone for 6 weeks. And, we toured all the national parks, and I think we saw the parks at the most courteous time. There was no commercialism. They were like nature made them. There were a few motels and a few hotels, but there was no crowds or nothing. We could drive anywhere, and there was no restrictions of where you went or what.
What was your fondest memory of the war?
I guess when they said that the government would let me out.
What was your saddest memory of the war? Your saddest,
Right?
your saddest memory.
Oh, sadness. That's a good question. I don't know.
What do you remember about VE and PJ days?
When I signed up in Panama to go to Europe in the regular army, they, of course, sent us, and when I landed in New York, I went to Governor's Island to see the friends, if there was anyone there that I knew, and I found quite a few that I knew. And at that time, that was VE Day. And, of course, when we were in Panama, the only uniforms we had were like khaki summer clothes, and your jacket was like a field jacket. Well, I went on, and that was the clothes I had. And when they announced that it was VE Day, they closed the port. Nobody could go off the island. And I got up there and I said, well, I got to go home. Here's my travel papers, you know. Well, you're out of uniform. And I said, well, that's the only uniform I have. I don't have any ODs or the wool and the fancy regular uniform. So they talked back and forth and everything. And I said, well, here's my travel papers here. So they let me off. So I went home. I was home for 90 days.
Where were you when President Roosevelt died?
I must have been in Vienna.
Did you feel like a hero when you came back?
No. No, I never thought too much of I was not proud of what I did in the Army. It seemed like I was on a travel tour. They kept shifting me around from here to there. I didn't see any combat of any kind.
Was it hard to go back to civilian life?
No, I went back, went to work for the same place I was when I left. Bought a house, went to California, right back to normal.
Do you ever see anyone you used to serve with?
Yes, yeah. There was Bob Ash, that lived in Syracuse. When I first went into the Army, I was acquainted with him, and when we were in Fort Niagara, we used to go to Syracuse to see, like over a weekend. And then after I got out of the service, I went back and I visited with him a number of times. And then there was another, Eddie Beale was another one of them. I think it was, I haven't contacted him in a long time. But I mean, shortly after the war, or when I got out, I met quite frequently.
How did the war change your life?
Took 5 years of it.
What do you think about war, or what did you think about war, and what do you think about it now?
Well, I think they waited too long to get into the one that they did get into. And I don't know. Seems as though sometimes that they should do it, and then other times I think that they should stay out of it.
Is there anything else you'd like to share with us?
No, I think that pretty well covers.
Well, thank you for the information.
Yeah, well, I just hope that I've given you some information, but I wasn't ever proud of what I did in the Army because it seemed like we tried to get into the action part of it, They said, well, you're in the Army, there you are. So, but I had a good time. A lot of things that I would never have seen, or places that I'd never been, probably. But I really had a good time.